Well, I'm here in a kind of role as the publisher, I suppose, because I'm responsible for publishing these two books by Keith, which I hope you've all now bought copies of. I wanted to read something, or in fact I want us all to read something from here in a little while, but before doing that I wanted to share with you 35 years ago I left Cardiff. I was 19 and I've hardly ever come back. I've been here for an occasional wedding or funeral or something of that kind, but just after I moved my parents left Cardiff as well, and then kind of friends go, and so Cardiff kind of went out of my consciousness really, I guess. When I was in Cardiff at that time, one of the things I did was run a small poetry press, and we did various books. The one I wanted to really show you I couldn't bring because it's in this sort of bag in a chest at home, and when I took it out the smell of the mustiness was so much. So I photocopied it. This was one of the books that we did back in 1969. It was called Test Tube, an anthology of experimental poetry. To my surprise, I'd forgotten it cost the grand sum, in big letters at the bottom, of 2 shillings. That ages it somewhat. And one of the other books I did back then, I was kind of hoping he might be here tonight, was one of Peter Finch's books, which has now become a collector's item. Those of you who live in Cardiff, I guess, probably know of Peter Finch. And one of the others we did, which I brought along because it has a curiosity to it. This was a book called A Year from Yesterday. Little pamphlets these are really, aren't they? Called A Year from Yesterday by an American man called James Sawsick, who I just saw on the internet fairly recently, is considered to be one of the 200 most influential Americans from the 20th century. Wow. It was actually 199. Still, what I'm hoping is, from the publication of Keith's books, that he's going to get at least higher than 199. So this kind of publishing thing started last summer, really, when I went along for a routine test at a hospital, and 2.5 weeks later was taken into hospital for a major operation, which is quite a big shock, really. And so I had this little gap between. I was told I had cancer, and actually I hadn't got cancer, and whatever. I don't need to go into all that. But I had this period of 2.5 weeks of believing that I had cancer, and I was going for this operation, and I might not get through it. So I thought, of all the things I've ever written, what would I actually most really like to see published? And the obvious answer to me immediately was my poems. And having not had any poems published for at least 35 years, I produced this little book of poems. From me starting to get the poems together. I mean, I'd written them all already. They weren't new poems. From getting all the poems together to the book going off to the printers, all happened in that 2.5 weeks. So it was kind of like, if I get through the operation, I'll have this book to give people and sell, and if I don't, you can do it at my memorial service. When I was publishing these poems in the past, all this stuff, the most famous poet at the time, and the best-selling poet in Britain anyway, was a woman called Pam Ayres. Some of you recognise the name. Those of you that don't, she was a really nice woman that did very nice poems. The most popular poetry book at the moment on Amazon is Pieces of Intelligence, the Existential Poetry of Donald Rumsfeld. He is not a nice person, and he does not write nice poetry. It's real. Where did that book go? But we're not here to talk about all those kind of things. We're here to talk about Charon's hammer. People, I've been giving this around to people, is it Charon or Sharon or whatever?
Charon.
Well, we asked the Greek person and it's Charon. Although she wasn't quite sure. I've been instructed to keep this fairly brief, so I'm keeping it fairly brief. I'm an esotericist, and I'm kind of into esoteric things, amongst other stuff. And one of the things the first time I've ever designed a cover for a book, a proper book. And when I was doing the design, it happened that I was doing this thing where Charon on his boat is going off into the underworld, and I wanted to kind of give the impression that he was kind of, well, I'm speaking computer speak now, pixelating off the edges, like going off into another dimension. And all the little pixels that are sort of stretched on the edge here are all 23 pixels, all little rectangles are 23 pixels wide. And I chose 23 because 23 is a very magical number. It's, apart from anything else, it's like the hexagram in the I Ching. 23 is called breaking apart. 23 is considered to be a number of things that are about transition and change and movement. And I thought that's very much what Keith's book is about. So I went to the index of first lines and I did this sort of very complicated Kabbalistic process. There are 47 poems in here, which actually makes it remarkably good value, much better than if there were only 46. It also meant that I could do some Kabbalistic exegesis on it. Because as there's 47 poems, I could then take one away, as Kabbalists do, and that leaves 46. And half of 46 is 23. So, yes. So as we got to 23 again, I thought I'd read the poem on page 63, just to be different. But actually, it's really a lot, and if I did this, you'd all go home before I finished. So I thought it would be more fun if, rather than me just reading it, we all kind of did it together. And there's this actually wonderful first line on this poem. I wasn't quite sure how to pronounce it because it's spelled F F F F F F F R R R R R R G G G G G A A N N N N N H H H H H. And I thought it was Ferger or something, but then I realised, again, being very esoteric with this, that if you actually say the letters, you get a message. So you get FRG, which is like effigy, and then you get anger. So you've got effigy, anger. Effigy, anger. Effigies. What kind of effigies? Donald Rumsfeld is an effigy. Anger, yes. George Bush is an effigy. Anger, yes. So I thought if you just maybe would join in on the FRG anger. FRG anger. Keith being very sort of sparing with words, as you notice, yes. Not that many words. Only put the effigy anger once at the beginning, but I'd like to just do the first paragraph, and after each sentence, if you could all join in with the effigy anger, and it helps with the anger bit. Look, anger is like, hey, I'm angry. No, it fucking is not. It's like, angry! So, effigy anger! And get an image of that effigy. Shall we do Donald?
Let's do Donald.
So, one practice. 1, 2, 3. Effigy anger! Right, okay. Pure uranium brooding and spitting out heels of sweat-soaked bread. Effigy anger! Cacking insanely in a Geiger giggle, leering at the emptiness with disrespectful ambivalence. Effigy anger! The all-seeing isotope, murderous and unstable, mythic, pyric, like the daddy of all quicksilver talking Creole insurgency from a rubber lathe on a nudist beach. Effigy anger! Revolution! Effigy anger! Anarchy! Effigy anger! Revolution! Effigy anger! Change! Effigy anger! Rise up!
Rise up! Rise up! F&G! Keith Hackwood!
Sorry, the honour. You rushed to our notes. It's John and Mark in the spoon.